Somewhere right now, there is a dog with maybe 3 months left to live. It is lying in the sun, completely at peace, and it has no idea. Most people find that comforting. The idea that animals just live, moment to moment. No awareness that any of it will end. But what if that's not entirely true? What if the picture is stranger and more complicated than we assumed? In 2018, a killer whale named Tahlequah lost her calf. The baby died hours after birth, and for 17 days, Tahlequah carried the body on her head as she swam. More than 1,000 miles of ocean. When she got tired, other members of her pod took turns helping carry it. 17 days. Scientists had no clean explanation for it. It wasn't about survival. It wasn't about food. There was no evolutionary logic that accounted for it. She just wouldn't let go. Crows hold what researchers now call funerals. When a crow dies, others gather. They don't eat. They don't scatter. They stand around the body. Kaylee Swift, a researcher at the University of Washington, spent years studying this behavior. Her finding was specific and strange. The crows weren't just reacting emotionally, they were investigating. They landed near the dead crow and observed it carefully. They seemed to be trying to figure out what killed it, and for weeks afterward, they avoided the location where the death happened. They remembered, and they changed their behavior because of it. Elephants do something even harder to explain away. When an elephant dies, the herd will often stand around the body for hours, sometimes days. They touch the bones with their trunks. They carry tusks. They have been observed returning to the same bones years later with no apparent practical reason. Karen McComb at the University of Sussex ran a study where she presented elephants with 3 objects: elephant bones, the bones of other animals, and pieces of wood. The elephants investigated the elephant bones significantly more than anything else. They weren't just responding to death in general. They were responding to the death of their own kind specifically. That is not nothing. But here's where it gets complicated, because there is a difference between 2 things that are easy to confuse: knowing that death exists and knowing that you will die. The first is behavioral. You can see death, react to it, grieve it, investigate it. The second is something different entirely. To know that you will die, you need to be able to project yourself forward in time, to imagine a future version of yourself, and then imagine that version not existing. That requires a level of self-awareness that very few creatures on this planet are thought to possess. Psychologists call it mortality salience. The awareness not just that things die, but that you specifically, the thing doing the thinking, will one day stop. And we know almost no other species can do this, because even in humans, it takes years to develop. Children understand that other things die long before they understand that they will die. Studies show that most children don't fully grasp their own mortality until somewhere between the ages of 5 and 7. And when they do, it is often terrifying. Some children cry for weeks, some become obsessed with it. Some never fully recover from the first moment they understood, because unlike every other piece of knowledge you acquire as a child, this one offers no comfort at the end. There is no resolution, no solution, no way to make it okay. You simply learn it, and then you carry it for the rest of your life. Jesse Bering, a psychologist who spent years studying the concept of death awareness, argued that this knowledge is one of the most destabilizing things a human mind ever encounters. His research suggested that almost everything humans build, philosophically and culturally, is in some way a response to it. Religion, philosophy, art, legacy. The desire to be remembered, the obsession with leaving something behind, all of it, at least in part, an attempt to make the fact of death feel less final, to build something that outlasts you, to tell yourself a story where the ending isn't really an ending. No other species builds temples. No other species writes philosophy. No other species creates art and leaves it on cave walls, knowing they won't be there to see it found. We did all of that, partly because we couldn't stop thinking about the fact that we were going to die. So do animals know? The honest answer is, some of them probably know more than we assumed. They grieve. That much is clear. They change their behavior around death. They remember where death happened and treat those places differently. Some of them, the ones who pass the mirror test, the ones who show clear self-recognition, the great apes, the dolphins, the elephants, may have a version of self-awareness deep enough to sense something approaching when they are dying. There are documented cases of elderly chimpanzees slowing down and withdrawing from the group before death, sitting alone, not eating, as if they knew. But whether they know in the way you know when you think about your own death, whether there is a version of that specific dread running through them, we genuinely cannot say. The inner experience is the one thing science still cannot reach. We can watch what they do. We cannot feel what they feel. Here's the part that stays with you. If animals don't fully know they're going to die, then they are free of something that has shaped almost every decision human civilization has ever made. Free of the countdown, free of the dread, free to exist in the moment without a version of the future pressing down on them. The dog lying in the sun with 3 months left doesn't know it has 3 months left. It just knows the sun is warm, and the grass smells like something worth staying close to. For most of human history, philosophers have called that ignorance, but maybe it's the other way around. Maybe the dog in the sun has something we lost the moment we became smart enough to understand what we'd eventually lose. And maybe that's the most uncomfortable version of the question. Not whether animals know they're going to die, but whether, if they don't, they are living more fully than we ever could.